I mean, they did say that they were thinking a lot more about how do things feel to play against, which is good. There are some decks that feel terrible to play against, like scam decks. But if we end up defining unfun to play against to be everything other than a certain type of board-based deck, tuned to be a little faster or a little more mid-range, that feels kind of blah to a lot of players.
I don't even know how much people want like nerfs or buffs as much as they just want the game to feel different.
Or to feel like card releases matter, I think is the biggest thing. Welcome to episode 547 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is Thursday, May 21st, 2026 in the evening. Coming to you from Nomergon, Ohio, it's me, Edelweiss. From North Rend, Massachusetts, we have Wicked Good.
Hi.
From Teldrassil, California, we have Megasa.
Hello.
And from all around the world, we have you, dear listeners. This week's episode is brought to you by our producers, Number Theory, Crash, Beef Squatch, David P., Jeremy T., Bottlecaps, Grumpy Monk, The Burger Club, Kirk Regan, May, NY Kiwi, Spine, Grizzly Bear, and by our patrons of the week, Joaquin Prang and Brandon Downs. You can go to patreon.com/coinconcede to get perks like a thank you at the top of the show, bonus post-show content, early access to new episodes, and help support the show in the process. If you would like to support the show but cannot do so monetarily, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on your podcast feed of choice, as it always helps other people find the show. And if you're coming to us from YouTube, please like and subscribe. So, Life and Ladder, I'll get this out of the way. I had jury duty. It sucked. It was interesting. I was doing my civic duty. The prosecution did a terrible time, or did a terrible job of presenting evidence for beyond a reasonable doubt. And we were a hung jury, but it didn't matter because they got picked up the night before the last day we were deliberating for a different crime. So that was an experience. That was the front half of my week. Haven't played a ton of Hearthstone. Tinkering around with a Triple Frost. Because why not? It's been a weird week. Because I went from casting playoffs all day to then the next day jury duty. It was
that's a come down. Yeah.
The playoffs was cool. Playoffs was sweet. We'll talk about it later. What about y'all?
Well, I have not actually gotten that far in jury duty before because they either haven't needed me or it's like, I'm a teacher and it's during the school year and they're like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
So, otherwise in life, just busy. I went to my 15th high school reunion. Now, why 15 instead of like 10? Well, it was COVID during my 10th high school reunion, so we didn't have one.
I think mine too. Yeah.
Bummer. It was. I really enjoyed high school, but the reunion was weird.
Mm-hmm.
I went with my one friend who I still have from high school, and there was more people from high school than I remembered who I just didn't know that well.
Mm.
And it was just mostly kind of awkward, so yeah. Campus still looks beautiful. They're in an arms race with all the other private schools in the area to have the fanciest possible offerings. They're very fancy and very cool and very expensive. So, but in Hearthstone, I have been bouncing around a lot. Someone just as we started to record had pinged me, what have you been playing, Megasa? Kind of everything. So if I just am looking back at my deck tracker, there's Token Druid, Marithra Druid. I tried a little bit of Imbue Control Priest again. I don't know why. It did not go well. Actually, it went 2-2, which is surprising. I tried some Burn Mage. I tried some Dude Paladin just to see, and some Companion Hunter right before the show. We'll talk about the balance changes, but the Companion Hunter felt pretty good. I noticed that there was a list. It felt better than I expected it to, given last week's VS report.
Yeah.
I was playing a sort of more typical list, I think, that was trying to be a little slower, has Call of the Wild, had one Earthen Roar, one Crazed Alchemist, which I absolutely needed against a priest. They made the mistake of not trying to trade into my Tortola to lower its health. So then I just killed them from 30.
Whoops.
If you don't see that often, that's an easy mistake to make.
It's an easy mistake to make, and not everyone is running Crazed Alchemist, so I don't blame them on that. They were like, oh, I'm not going to up the health, the attack of the Tortola for no reason.
And sometimes, you're caught between a rock and a hard place. That's kind of the point.
Yeah, they were probably dead anyway, even if they had tried to trade in. All I needed to do would have been to find 1 damage. So I did notice on HS Guru, I haven't tried it yet, like a sort of more tempo-ish version with like 200 odd games instead of 800 that was doing pretty well, that didn't even have any Call of the Wild and was just trying to be a little bit more aggressive. I don't know if that's good. Sometimes the Hunter can, if you get like a bunch of Confront the Tolviers early. My loss with it today was a mirror where they had the dream curve of double tame pet, double Confront the Tolvier, bunch of 1-drops.
Yeah.
That happens sometimes. If you're in a mirror and they get the dream curve and you do not, then and they go first and you go second. That's how it works out. So, and Dude Paladin, like it felt okay, but I think it's something that does pretty well in lower ranks and then falls off hard at higher ranks. And I definitely did feel that. I ran into someone today who was running like Dude Paladin synergy, but trying to take it slower. So they had equality.
Oh.
Which is kind of interesting. And they had charity that they used to bring back their Torith. And they had the Emboldening Blade, which is the 5-cost blade. And they were really holding back, I think, to then try to double, like, now that we've gotten our Silverhand recruits big and we have like a big like Nozdormu turn and the Torith like protects them until they can get their big Nozdormu turn. I think that was the idea. I did end up killing them anyway, but it was a little bit tight. I don't know if that's good, but I thought it was interesting. I do not have the full list. Otherwise, I would put it in the show notes. Did not get that friend request. Sometimes, people understandably don't want to take the risk. So,
yeah. Well, I finished Trails into Reverie, which can tell you how much Hearthstone I've been playing this week, I suppose. So now I'm on to Trails through Daybreak, so that's good. I'm starting up a new arc and remembering how sloggy the first game of an arc is in that series, but I'm enjoying the new graphical style and stuff like that, and characters that I keep seeing reference to in the Falcom subreddit that I haven't experienced yet, so I can maybe stop skipping half the post there for spoilers. I did hit Legend with the Marithra Druid like over the weekend. Because I tried a few other things and nothing really felt like it was working for me. Like I tried some of the like end of turn Paladin, it just wasn't doing it. I tried Warrior, just like I don't want to play this. And Druid at least has felt good to me, so that's why I've just been sticking with it, even though it's probably not the best for climbing, but it was working for me. Though I did end up, my first final boss ended in a draw, which was upsetting. and it was more upsetting because I could have played around it and I just like had a brain fart because it was against a Herald Warrior and I needed an uncorrupted Shaladrasil's Ysera Awakens to get the 5 damage for lethal. But I realized as I finished playing it from my hand that they had one of the soldiers on board. And I could have played more minions before I did that to try to get the damage from that to hit my face. Except I just blanked on it. So, and then of course, and I had minions on board, but it hit face. So that was upsetting. Even though my damage went through first, so I should have won. I mean, I got there a couple games later. It wasn't that big of a deal, but it was still kind of frustrating. But Jake the Cake in the Discord had posted a burn / leyline mage that I tried out before the show. So I'm glad it worked for them. It also was very educational and giving me some firsthand experience about the balance patch that we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
So maybe we just instead of talking about the things we're going to talk about in Life and Ladder, why don't we just talk about them?
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
So we did get a balance patch this week. Fairly light as balance patches go, and kind of in terms of what we might have expected. We talked I think it was 2 episodes ago, about how poorly the class sets landed. And I guess Companion Hunter is getting a little bit better now that the bugs are fixed, but the others have been pretty underwhelming. Leyline Mage in particular has been pretty underwhelming. They did announce a dev update video. We will get to that in a minute. But we should talk through what these balance changes were. And the dev comment is, our first ever class sets are here. We're happy to see how excited people are to try out the new cards and archetypes. That said, we agree with your feedback that they've landed a bit soft. So we're giving a couple of them a boost in this update. Mage saw a lot of early experimentation, but the Leyline package fell short, so we're buffing 3 cards to help it compete and encourage more exploration. For Hunter, the Animal Companion archetype has been popular and pretty strong, but it's missing a strong 2-drop. We updated Migrating Elk to help fill that role. We're also showing some new love to the new event card Dragon Soul Shattered. 2 of its essences are being strengthened to better reward the effort of combining them. The meta continues to look diverse with no major outliers. This is a lighter balanced pass aimed at keeping things stable. Demon Hunter, Druid, and Warrior are leading the pack right now, so we're dialing back 1 card from each to keep them in check. So the changes, the changes for Demon Hunter, Hounds of Fury, summon 2/3/3 demons. If your deck has no minions, they attack the lowest health enemy. Those went from 3/3s to 3/2s. Forest Gift, which is the 2-mana spell from Druid that says give a friendly minion +1/+1 for each minion you control, now costs 3 mana. Dark Rider, which was the 2/1, 1-mana 2/1 for Warrior with a battle cry. If you're holding a dragon, discover a dragon with a dark gift, is now a 1/1. The Arcanomicon, which is the mage spell that says get all 3 ley lines, choose an upgrade for your ley lines, went from 7 mana to 6 mana. Crystallized Leyline, which used to be a 6 mana spell that summoned a random 6-drop, is now a 5 mana spell that summons a random 5-drop. It obviously gets upgraded by the ley lines, but it takes longer to do that now. Surge Needle, which is the minion for mage that has the battle cry your ley lines trigger an additional time this game, went from a 3/3 to a 3/5. Migrating Elk, as mentioned, which upgrades the animal companions for Hunter, went from a 3-mana 3/4 to a 2-mana 2/3, both with taunt. And the storm aspects, or the aspects of Dragon Soul that were updated, rather. The storm aspect essence went from deal 3 damage to all enemy minions to deal 4 damage to all enemy minions. And the bronze aspect essence went from refresh 7 mana crystals to refresh 8 mana crystals. So very, very light touches to the good decks, and one could argue multiple but very light touches to the mage deck.
Mm-hmm.
The Hunter one I think was good, all things considered. I think having that as a 2-drop seems to be a slight upgrade for the deck, but maybe a little bit of a lateral move. But generally, it's not hurting it for sure.
Yeah. Nothing to Paladin is brutal.
Yeah.
The Companion Hunter is, since the patch, tier 2 in every rank bracket. It's tier 2 in Diamond. It's tier 2 in Legend. It's tier 2 in Top 1K. So that does seem to have helped. It's not the strongest deck in any of those places, but if you enjoy playing the deck, I do think having the Migrating Elk fill out the curve, because it was kind of missing a 2-drop, does help. And it gives you, with all the aggro decks in the meta, it does give you something a little bit early contesting the board. So I think that makes sense. Paladin not getting anything. I guess they must be worried about it at lower MMRs.
Yeah, or they're worried about making it too strong if they go, the numbers that they have to work with sometimes aren't the greatest to be able to tweak. And when you're going in, sometimes you want to be able to do a League of Legends style buff where you just tweak some number by 0.25% and it makes a huge difference. And you don't have that kind of flexibility with the numbers on Hearthstone cards. Going up a whole integer sometimes is too much, but leaving it alone isn't enough, so you're kind of stuck. I don't know if that's what this is, but that is something that sometimes becomes a bit of an issue.
Yeah, I mean, definitely at higher ranks, unless maybe there's, that way that I saw it today would be kind of like a breakthrough way to do it, although it seems like it would probably just be worse than End of Turnitin at that point. But the Silverhand Paladin, it is tier 1 in Platinum, according to HS Replay, although not in Gold, Silver, or Bronze. Now, again, like, we don't really see what it is for different people's MMR. They can probably break it down that way. We only just see rank, but that's our very imperfect proxy. But maybe that was their concern, that it would be strong, like it would be another really strong aggro deck. I mean, for context, at Platinum, the best decks are End of Turnitin, Unholy DK, Aggro Druid, Herald Shaman, Dude Paladin, Face Hunter. So a lot of aggro there. Then Egg Warrior.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does seem like, could we have done something to that weapon? People are playing it again in the lists that are doing okay. And I actually could see why, because your 1/1s are just such nothing burgers unless you give them +1/+1, and the health minion is so underwhelming. That's the other one where it feels like maybe we could have buffed the give them health to either have more stats or not cost so much, but that's not what they decided to do. So
Yeah.
maybe they figured that kind of deck isn't that popular at higher ranks anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, people don't like high MMR players generally won't play Paladin unless it's the absolute best thing to do ever. Even when it's good, they don't want to play it. So it has to be like incredibly broken to get like top 1,000 players to want to play Paladin.
I also more and more think they just don't care about making top 1,000 players happy.
I mean, there's only 1,000 of them, right? Like
Right.
compared to all the millions of players, like that's
right.
fair. But
I think the argument, like, on the one hand, it is definitionally a very small slice of the meta. That's always going to be more opinionated. That's always going to burn out on new decks faster. That's going to have a smaller slice of decks because you don't get there usually, unless you're playing really, really good decks. There are some people who are exceptions to that, but in general. However, I do think the argument for that portion of the player base being more influential is that a lot of content creators are in that, and a lot of like deck builders are in that range, if not necessarily top 1K, like top 5K.
Yeah.
Top 1K, you start getting into like esports people.
Right.
If people are like regularly always there, right? But like top 5K, you have a lot of content creators who shape some of the conversation of people playing at other ranks and other MMRs because they're watching them. Or even if they're not watching them, they're seeing the Reddit conversations from people who are watching them, right? Like it does kind of trickle down into... But there's also people who play this game. Like I used to be someone who played Hearthstone for years with very minimal online interaction. So I didn't really know what the good decks were, and I didn't really know like what people were thinking, except when I went online because I was really mad about Ticketus.
Uh-huh.
I mean that's I was also in that era also generally very mad about Ticketus, so I understand. And I should say for context, like top 5,000 Legend is generally where all the three of us are most of the time. Like, we'll drop below that sometimes, but like for the most part, that's where all three of us are playing for the most, more often than not.
Yeah.
So I do recognize it's a little bit like, well, that's where I play, so I think it's important. And I also recognize that like they do perhaps are thinking a little bit about if we do sort of huge impactful balance changes all the time, there are more casual players who, like, there was a period when it was just like sort of relentless that we were getting nerf after nerf, and that could be disorienting for more casual players. I know that was also when my husband was playing a little bit. He hasn't been recently because there's just too many things going on for him.
Yeah.
But he was like, wait, things keep changing around me. Luckily, his deck kept being mostly good, but he was definitely demoralized when they hit the elemental mage, and it seemed like it changed under his feet.
Yeah.
That said, players who are more engaged are ones who, are more engaged and spend more time with the game probably spend more money with the game, and they tend to
So-
want more dynamism.
I think it's like, okay, they're your ambassadors. Yes, I think that matters. I think they act like it matters more than it does.
The creators or Blizzard? And who's the they in that sense?
Blizzard.
Okay.
I feel like I've just had to be cynical, like, you know, in the last couple of years, and you know, when I look at the reception to Dark Moon Fair on the creator side and Western side, alongside their actions, you know, so like not a lot done in response, right? We still have Darkmoon Fairs. There's no changes, right? Some people still can't access it at all because their countries have gambling laws that ban them, and so those cosmetics are just completely locked away from them. But I do hear Darkmoon Fair stuff does very well in China, which is a huge player base all of its own. We know that region to region, there's different. I mean, we know that there's so much different, right? There's different metas that develop from in terms of how people play, right? There's often a conversation about how APAC leans aggro, and certainly we saw that in the playoffs. We'll get into that. But I think also in player attitudes, you know, I'm not tuned into like how necessarily those other regions react to nerfs, buffs, whatever, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there's a strong reaction in a large region like China or a wealth of the player base that is not the vocal minority of like creators and the people who directly tune into creators, that they feel differently about you know, when a top deck gets nerfed, right? Or about like what kinds of things they'd like to play or whatever. And so we end up in this space that feels like the balanced team is trying to walk a tightrope and maybe not fully making anyone happy. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to say. But as long as they can do enough, they'll still get money out of us, and so that's all that really matters to them at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I say them, I don't mean the designers,
Yeah.
right?
Designers are doing their best. Yeah.
With the mandates that they're given, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're in a position, right, where, as I think that there's a couple opposing philosophies here. Again, this is speculation. I don't know what. This is not with any privileged information, but just on the one hand, I think we had a period where we were getting a lot, like probably too many nerfs, and maybe to decks that didn't really warrant it. But even before that, like in maybe like way back to Stormwind, it was like, well, we'll make these really big, powerful decks and then nerf them if we need to, right? And decks that will kill you, or decks that, you know, we also had like Baron's Priest that people will get really mad at this, but it'll be like a powerful off-board strategy one way or another, and then eventually that gets nerfed, or sometimes then quicker it gets nerfed. Then we kind of had all of that being nerfed down until the whole power level fell down, with rotation as well. And now it does feel like, I mean, they did say, not in the current dev video that we'll talk about, but the first one, that they were thinking a lot more about how do things feel to play against, which is good. There are some decks that feel terrible to play against, like scam decks. You know, if they happen to draw correctly, then they get something on turn 4 that you just can't deal with, and that's the whole deck. Did I get the thing on turn 4 or not? Can you deal with it or not? Like, those are really frustrating to face, and I don't think should be a thing for more than short periods of time, if ever. But if we end up defining unfun to play against to be everything other than a certain type of board-based deck, tuned to be a little faster or a little more mid-range, that feels kind of blah to a lot of players. Even sometimes, you know, as much as I have complained in the salt mine about blood decay and the process of just feeling your will to live being sucked away by all these leeches, which is apropos, I guess. It is a style of play that people really enjoy, and it is something that gives me a bit of a different challenge depending on what I'm facing when I'm playing those more proactive board decks that I do like to play. I like the aggro mirrors and the board-based mirrors, but I also do get something out of like, oh, they're going to kill me, so I'm going to race them and just try to do as much damage as possible before they build up. Or, oh, they've got clears. Let me think about when do I need to play around the clear and when do I need to just hope they don't have it, even though that's frustrating. And so you can avoid big nerfs and you can avoid big people being mad if those are never good, but that's kind of a monkey's paw situation. Yeah. Have those never be good.
And I don't even know how much people want like nerfs or buffs as much as they just want the game to feel different.
Yeah.
You know? And
or to feel like card releases matter, I think is the biggest thing.
Yeah, I mean that was the issue with the class sets, right? Is that the release, I mean Druid worked out. We'll get to Druid in the dev video, and that's going to be a whole other conversation. But
indeed.
But I mean the other class, like the fact that we were like they made a big deal about how they're moving away from mini sets, at least for this year, to these class sets to be able to make big impacts in the meta by focusing on a few classes and giving them more to do, a more cohesive set, as opposed to like 3 cards that maybe most of them aren't going to hit, and the ones that are going to hit really hard because they have to be overtuned in order to make an impact. So they're able to, focus on a few classes and give them the same power level that you'd expect from a regular set. And then they didn't. Like those didn't hit. And so I think people are generally, at least in this half of the world, right? People are upset because they expected a meta to feel different and it doesn't. And they're just looking for something to feel different. I don't think it's anyone's mad at any of the decks that are at the top of the meta. I do hear a lot of people more so desperate for something to be given to Warlock and to a lesser extent Priest, because Warlock's just got like a graveyard of bad ideas at this point.
It's so rough.
And it's
so
like
bad.
And this is again the problem with some of the I've had this in my head. I don't even know if this is a coherent thought or not, but I've been thinking about this a lot ever since the mini set or the class sets came out. And it's like, I wonder in other card games if the designers are designing decks as much as they're designing cards. Because it feels like, at least for the last couple of years, the designers have been designing decks when they've been doing this. And I feel like that is taking away a lot of that exploration and a lot of the way that some of these things come together, instead of just like giving pieces and seeing how the pieces come together, right? It seems like they have, and I don't know anything about how they're designing the cards in the behind the scenes, right? Like this is just like my perception as a completely uninformed observer who has just played a lot of the game. But it feels like they are going in saying, these are the archetypes that we expect to be there, and this is what we want to be there, instead of giving a bunch of tools that maybe have some themes. Maybe the themes come together into a deck that comes around them, maybe that doesn't. But a lot of the times it feels like they have specific decks that they're expecting to be there. And if those decks hit or not is, then we're really that if you design a deck and it doesn't hit, then the class is effectively dead for that expansion, right? And it's even worse when a class gets 2 decks and neither of them are good. Hi, mage. And then there's just nothing for people who want to play that class to do. And it does feel like, in the last couple of four set metas, right? Like we'd usually have some wacko control deck come out of the woodwork like 4 or 5 weeks in. And we definitely didn't have that for Cataclysm. I don't think we had that happen for Enter the Emerald Dream either, because it like that deck wasn't planned for, and it's not that's the kind of thing that somebody discovers a few weeks in by putting all the pieces together, but the pieces are just like so obvious the way that they're being designed, and the mage deck is kind of like the mage deck from the class set is kind of the worst of all these worlds, right? Where not only is it extremely parasitic design, I played a bunch, and I was thinking about this as I was playing this mage deck today, like, why do I hate this so much? And part of it is that it's parasitic, so you have to put all these cards in. Maybe you can get away with not putting in the summon a minion leyline because it's bad and it's worse after this nerf or this buff. Sorry, Freudian slip. But but it's so you have to put all these cards in. You have to draw the cards and play the cards in a particular order. And you have to basically play down tempo things in order to make the better things that are more fun happen later on. You have to eat your vegetables early in the game, right? In order to do that. And it's like,
but they aren't defensive or things that you want to do in the early game.
Right.
Anyway, right.
Right. You are giving up the early game for a promise of a better tomorrow. And tomorrow never comes. Right? And even you have to do all these things. Like, I feel when I'm playing that deck, like I am giving up my win condition by playing any of the ley lines that I have drawn or have generated, right? Because I feel like I need to get them all up to max power for anything to be good.
Right.
Maybe not the draw one.
At minimum, you need Surge for anything to be relevant.
Yes.
Right? You need the extra cast. Like, they could have, I think, along with +3/+5, they needed to give it like ton.
You need to get some keyword. Any keyword. I don't care what it is. But some sort of a keyword it needed to have in order to be relevant. Because, like, it doesn't, maybe it gets to trade twice instead of once. But that doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not when you're actually playing the game, just because it's like you're still getting beaten up. And like, yeah, it's great. It lasts through a clear removal spell. You get to trade with it once, great. But you're still playing a 3/5 that does nothing on 4.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, it's better.
Yeah.
But it did go up like 10 percentage points.
For sure.
I mean, it's not embarrassing now, at least, so that's good.
But like, I genuinely think you would have to reduce the mana costs of all the leyline cards by 1. Not the leylines themselves. The minions that you have to play. Your minion tax.
Your vegetables.
Yeah. It's otherwise it just takes you too long to do anything, and by the time your actual ley lines are playable, you're dead. And that is a little bit less true now. Right now I think you've gained some percentage points against the things that don't kill you right away. Right, some of the slower things you perform better against them. Right, because your minions, your stuff's not so embarrassing that you can actually contest board a bit until you do your thing. But you still don't really want to do the minions, right? The one that summons minions, because they by making it 5 mana, summon a 5-drop, they solve the problem of if you play the 2-mana beast, it's now actively bad, right?
But if you play 2, then it's bad now.
Right, which doesn't happen a ton, but all the same, it's like, wait, but the way that you fixed it is that it's even worse when you just have to play it and you haven't gotten any of the upgrades.
Yeah.
Now, like, there's such conflict within the ley lines where it's like 7 is so bad for the summon a minion one that the most common scenario previously of upgrading 6 to 7 it's like you have to play the beast because it's important to upgrade the discount for your draw. It's important to upgrade the damage for the bursting. And it's just a good 2-drop. But then it would make your crystallized ley line actively worse by putting it at 7. Now, You do make it better going from 5-drop to 6-drop, but that was the baseline before. And Arcanomicon, I think a lot of time, like the summon is the only reason you want to pick the +2 effect from Arcanomicon. Which means, yeah, now if you don't pick that and you play the other beast, you're at 7 again, and that's terrible. They could start it at 7. They could make it 6 mana, summon a 7-drop, and just go all in, so that when you play your first beast, it goes to 8. Like,
and 6 mana summon a 7-drop, if you're not doing any of the leyline support stuff, is still a bad card that nobody's ever going to play.
Right.
Because 7-drops are terrible. They always have been, and they pretty much always will be when you're summoning them, at least. Like, when you're playing them, they're generally good because they're generally battle cries.
It sounds funny because it's like, wait, but yeah, isn't that a higher mana cost? It's like, yeah, but it's the terrible mana cost for minions.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so for summoning minions. So yeah, this buff to crystallize is kind of sort of a nerf. Or at least a sideways.
Yeah.
And it's just constantly in tension unless you were to make it just 6 mana, summon a 7-drop. Because you really do want to boost the effect for your other cards, but not so much that you're going to pick that option on Arcanomicon. Like Arcanomicon, I think you're basically either doing another instance of recast or you're doing the discounts. Because if you do the discounts, sometimes you then play your draw and reduce cost spell, and you just like draw through your deck, and the ley lines don't cost mana, and like that, right. You're doing the thing. But like you still are pairing all this with burn because summoning minions is not getting you there, right? Like I think that the reason they didn't want to make bursting an AoE that excess does face damage instead of this random, and that's another thing. If you don't want to make it an AoE, just let us pick the targets.
Yeah,
Good heavens.
Yeah.
So the reason they didn't want to do that is because they felt it would be a negative play pattern that they're scared of having to nerf, right?
Yeah.
And there is a point about like the play, if the play around is not playing minions, that has historically been problematic with.
Sure.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem to be a problem right now.
Yeah. I mean,
no, but
like there is a risk of just like creating Protoss Mage 2.0, right? Which is,
I don't think it was anywhere near that.
I know, but I'm saying like if they were doing another thing where Mage's thing is AoE that does face damage, like we just had like a year of Protoss Mage that people were sick of, and like they're going back to that. Like I get that at least.
But I think their intent was that like, oh, but it's okay because you'll be summoning these minions, and we're like, but we actually just can't even run Crystallized Leyline because it's that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. The highest win rate deck I can see here on HS Guru with 200 or more games does not run Crystallized Leyline.
It's got to be a burn list, right? Because the only way you can do this, right?
Yeah.
By making Crystallized bad, the only way you can engage with Leylines is to put them in a burn list.
Yeah.
And it's worse than just doing
regular
a burn
burn
list.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Leyline Mage, like, it's close to playable, especially at lower ranks. Not so close to playable at higher ranks.
Yeah.
But you could also just play Burn Mage and actually win games. So that's kind of disappointing. Like, I don't necessarily mind having these be a burn, like, if they were designed more in that direction. And so it was like, all right, the shell that works for these is a burn shell, and then maybe later if we get more defensive tools for Mage, then the shell that works for these can be a more defensive shell. But I can see what you're about to say, which is that the cards don't really seem to fit into that very well. Like, it seems like it's kind of fighting itself.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't, and like the problem is that like if it's going to be a slow deck, you can't really afford to have like a third of the deck be things that aren't either able to react to the board or just like generally good to play, right? Like you can't have that many things that just can't react to what's happening, and so many of the things that you have to put into this deck to make it work are just useless when you draw. Like they have so much potential to be useless when you draw them. Like if you draw a bursting leyline in your opening hand, that is a dead card for most of the game.
Yeah.
Like it's just, it really is. It's sad. Like Leyline Nexus really like needs a couple of buffs before you feel good casting. And it is good in the mid game if you can buff it, but sometimes all those crappy minions are at the bottom of your deck and you're sitting there with garbage in your hand because you had the temerity to draw your deck upside down. And then you just never were part of that game because of draw RNG. And it's not fun. Where you're just like, oh, I hope I draw the right cards in the right order so that my deck actually does the thing it's supposed to do. Like, or I could just like play a deck that works most of the time. You know, I mean, like this is kind of a problem to a lesser extent with all three of the parasitic class sets, where like if you don't see Tame Pat, if you don't get the Tame Pat into Confront the Tolvir, opener, but if you don't see Tame Pat and you don't see the Elec, right? Like you're sitting there with some real bad cards in your hand for a lot of the. I mean, yeah, like at least the one who chooses an animal companion can pick Huffer and like kill something, or do 4 damage face like that. It's at least like it's not, you don't want to do it, but you can. But but you want to be getting those upgraded so that they're doing what the promise of you're doing. And like sometimes those are just all at the bottom of your deck, and you're just sitting there with garbage in your hand, wondering why you didn't just play a deck where all the cards work for most of the game.
And someone in chat points out that like the Leyline deck used to have a curve of, and this wouldn't happen a ton, but if you did hit your 2 and tier 3 and tier 4, so one of each of the minions, and then crystallized since it was reduced by 1, went from 6 mana to 5 mana, you could play it and summon. Now the problem is you were summoning 7s, which is garbage. But if it was, now you're summoning 8s, 2 8s on turn 5, now you've been paying your taxes up until that point, but maybe summoning 2 8s could pull you back. We've seen, I'll get into playoffs a little bit. We've seen how powerful 8-drops can be. 8-drops are pretty good. You know, they can save your butt, but 7s are as bad as 8s are good. So like now the curve is ruined and for nothing, right? It hasn't.
Yeah.
It feels like a fundamental misunderstanding of the problem.
Yeah, we almost need something like with Librams for Paladin. They were never quite there, or they were like for short periods sort of there. But there were a couple of the Libram cards that, like the draw one in particular, that just like found its way occasionally into other lists, or that like if you were playing the Libram list, you could just draw a couple of minions and like whatever, they don't get the buffs. It's nice when those like, yeah, they get better if you play them synergistically, but like you can play them by themselves, you know. And maybe that means that there aren't as many ways to upgrade them. I can see how like
even like Protoss Mage had the like, or non-Protoss mages had like the Protoss armor spell that you would just play because it was armor, and like you make your next one cheaper, and like that was it. And it gave you, I mean, more so because it gave you the ability to discover the armor spell more. But like even those are like still playable outside of this package. But like because these all just say the word Leyline on them, it's not even like you can find like cool things that are from other sets that might interact with this and come up with some cool interactions. It's like, no, you know, it's like, oh, there was this one episode of The Simpsons years ago where like the old lady was having a garage sale, and like she had a candy dish and she was selling the, and it's like, oh, I could put, you know, my marbles in here. Like, no, just candy. That's all that goes in this is candy. That's what the ley lines kind of feel like, where it's just like, no, you can't put anything in there except ley lines. And you know, it lives and dies by how well designed that deck, not those cards, were. If they were designed as cards that happened to fit together into this one deck that was kind of like on rails, you could do this, but also you could take pieces and do this a little bit differently if you want to. Like, yeah, then maybe we find something. Maybe the Leyline deck sucks, but like the pieces are worth salvaging, and we could find something to do with it. But that's not the case here.
To that point, I hold out some small hope that maybe like Paladin, because silver hands are a more universal thing,
Sure.
might get some other silver hand stuff at another point, and maybe this deck has a shot, or like next rotation happens, which like, God, we just had a rotation and now I'm waiting for next rotation. That's not great. But and they put like Quartermaster in or something, then maybe you've got some real stuff going. I still think Emboldening Blade should be cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah, Emboldening Blade should be cheaper or have 4 attack or something. It kind of does need to go on the deck, so it should feel like, oh, we're not super upset that we're putting this in the deck.
Or buff every time you swing, right? If it's going to cost that much, it should buff every time you swing.
Yeah. I mean, maybe calling these things vegetables is the wrong word, because vegetables are generally good for you.
Whereas these just make me sad.
But like a 5-mana 3/3 is like empty calories. It's not vegetables. It's not like it's making you stronger.
3/2.
It's 5-mana
3/2. Yeah, so sorry, I'm making it even better than it was. A 5-mana 3/2 is it's so hard to justify. If it wasn't, it has to be integral to the deck or you're not running it, and that's why it's getting cut even sometimes from people are trying to cut it.
Yeah. Like the only good one is the 2/1 with Rush.
Yeah.
And that one, I could see that at some point just being in a regular aggro Paladin that also runs Convalescence.
Yeah, because it makes your hero power a little bit better. Fine.
Sure.
Yeah. And it makes Convalescence a little bit better, and you can cast Convalescence with the Murloc, and then we ignore everything else.
And maybe you're running Gen, and you can turn your hero power into 1-mana summon 2/2s, and then you're off to the races. Like, there are things you can do there.
Well, 2/1s, but yeah. Yeah, exactly. And like, could even see teamwork squeaking its way in there, maybe, for if you've got the buffs to support, right?
Yeah. If we end up with more buffs for Paladin, like, it could be that, maybe we have Paladin buffs coming in the next set, and that's part of why they decided not to buff the dude Paladin.
Or there's something that triggers on minions entering, right? And then you just want to have, like, every time, like, we've had some things like, whenever you summon a minion with 1 health, give it +1/+2 or whatever, right? Like, so there have been things like that are coming. Maybe that's what they're afraid of. But then, like, then why this class set now if that's what we're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the thing that, because we heard, I guess we should talk about the Dev Insight video, because we heard that we've gotten changes last minute for these class sets also. So, I mean, I guess we should probably just talk about that now, because we did get this Dev Insight video today as we're recording. They teased it in the patch notes.
The game director, Tyler Bielman, and the producer, Nathan Lyons.
Executive producer, yeah.
Yeah, executive producer.
And so there wasn't a whole lot that wasn't already in the patch notes and that we haven't already discussed. There were a couple of tidbits that they alluded to. They reiterated that we are not getting a new class, despite the fact we are getting 12 class sets. They said that in the original announcement that there's 11 classes and 12 class sets. They emphasize we are not getting a new class. Stop dreaming about Monk. It's not happening. But we are getting 2 Death Knight sets, because they're going to be focused on different runes or different sets of runes, which makes sense, right? So that is something that they've confirmed. So we'll be getting, I would presume we're getting one for one expansion, one in the other. They might do both. I can't imagine they're going to do both of them for the same set, but maybe they would. I don't know. Anything is possible at this point. The plan for Druid was also for it to be some flavor of a parasitic set that was focused on Token Druid. But then Token Druid as an archetype was already strong out of the gate when the set released. And then they decided to, I don't know if they reworked some of the cards or they swapped out some of the cards with some things that they're going to be releasing later in the year or what happens to be. But they retooled this class set to be more of a variety and less focused on a particular archetype. And arguably Druid has been the most successful out of the 4. So they were intending to go 4 with the parasitic designs. And again, this is after the last time that we got a Dev Insight, them telling us that one of the lessons learned was that those are harder to make work and that they were going to be moving away from them with the exception of Herald. So I don't really know what to believe at this point.
Which I guess you could argue turnaround times. This stuff was already in the pipeline before they decided that that they're gonna go away from parasitic designs. But like, then say that
Right.
in your previous video. Say we're stepping away from this. The next one has a little bit of it, or a lot of it. Like, you know, or even just if you don't want to give too much, you say stepping away from this now because of turnaround times. You know, you may not see that until later in the year, right? Like, but like something
Yeah.
to make it come across.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they did have less of it in Cataclysm. They still had Herald, but you know, we'll see what the next expansion looks like. But yeah, I don't know if it's like, oh, our parasitic deck ideas, we're going to put them in class sets. I do see the vision of we introduce a few new decks that maybe can be at the same power level, so we don't have to have so much balance changes. The Hunter, to some extent, I think has been successful to where they want it to be. I know not everyone's a fan of that deck's play patterns. Token Druid, I mean, Druid, it ended up working out that we added things to a few different decks. Bashana is even occasionally going into the Token Druid. Token Druid is still real good. It is actually the best Diamond through Legend deck. I think it falls off a little bit, but like Forest Gift, 3 mana, whatever, right? Like if you want to play Token Druid, absolutely still can and do well.
Yeah.
But it is a little weird. In terms of like why this video, I mean, we were talking a little bit before we went live that they recorded the video on Friday. They posted it today, Thursday the 21st, as we're recording. Of course, you're seeing this more in the future for the same reason, right? We have to edit it. They had to edit it. They have to get it approved by people. They might have to localize it. I don't know what their whole process is. But it does feel like if there was a way to get it recorded earlier or to have a faster pipeline, it would have been great if it could come out with the patch notes, right? Because then it's another way of delivering that information without it feeling a beat late. It's one thing when we're giving information on a new patch that dropped and you see it on Monday, unless you're on our Patreon or you watch us live. It's another thing when you are the game company, right? And it feels a couple of days delayed. There was some other information. I think I don't necessarily mind them having another format with which to give the patch note information, but yeah, if there's a way in the future that they can not have that delay, that would be helpful, or have some different information. Or even now that we've seen this and we saw that it was parasitic, they could say hey, we know we said this in the last video, because of turnaround times, this particular set is different, and maybe our vision was class sets are where we want to put that kind of thing because that makes a whole new deck in the middle of an expansion, right? If that's the thinking, I don't know if it is. It would be great to hear that. So I don't know.
Yeah, for those of us who are already tuned in, right? I think that it felt like, why are you telling all this stuff that you just put in the patch notes? I do give them a little bit of leeway here, as you're saying, that it's the new medium is relevant. If I were not hosting this podcast, right, I probably wouldn't have clicked on the patch notes. I would just see the changes as they enter the client, and there it is. But I know that me personally, video content, or sometimes video content as audio, right? As a substitute podcast, because I'm not watching the visuals. I'm just more inclined to do, right? We Americans get a rap about not reading for a reason. So I read, now in my defense, I read very, very slow. It makes more sense for me to consume video and audio more than written word, because my pace of reading is snail. I do see some value to just putting it in a new medium, where some people will see it under featured in the launcher, right, and decide to click on it, who may not have otherwise seen the patch notes. And so a broader range of people are getting this update that would not necessarily have otherwise gotten that update.
Yeah.
Or they might actually see it on YouTube. It had, when I tuned into it, it was 7 hours after release, and it had 10K views. So it is being seen more.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder for how many people the algorithm is going to surface it if you're not already watching a lot of Hearthstone content that would lead you to have gotten that information already. you know.
Well, if you're just watching, that's different from, reading patch notes, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that like having it on the launcher is one thing. I do wonder like how many people, if they're not like clicking on it from the launcher, or or are already consuming a lot of Hearthstone content, in which case it would definitely surface to you, like how many more people it's reaching. Like we know that like, as soon as you like, I've gotten way too many videos about travel destinations I'm not going to because I clicked on one travel video, right? And like,
You have to get that out of your history and it'll stop.
yeah, exactly. There are some times when I'll watch something that I know I'm not going to want to get recommended a million times, and so anyway, but whatever. I mean, I think that there's a valid argument for that, but I think also the last dev insight video, the fact that they don't do this a lot, right? And the last one had a lot of additional content that we wouldn't have gotten elsewhere, kind of set expectations. And the fact that they were like teasing it from the patch notes also says, oh yeah, it says without saying it, hey, we're going to have some more information to share about this, so come back and listen on Thursday. And then there really just wasn't anything there for the people who do like read the patch notes and are like posting on Reddit angrily and whatever it happens. I saw a lot of angry Reddit posts today.
Yeah. And I can see, I think things just kind of feel mid.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating. And I can feel that. I mean, I've been pretty busy with work, other kinds of stuff like that, but it's, my husband will be like, do you have a deck that you're playing right now? And like, I don't, even though like I should be really happy because there's lots of aggro to choose from. I'm just kind of like flitting around, being like, there's nothing that's really like grabbing me, which
and
affects my amount of playing.
Trying to make Frost DK work. This is where I am right now. That is enough different for me because I just want to play my class. Like,
I forgot to say in Life and Ladder, you both blew up my DMs on Sunday as soon as Egg Priest showed up on the tour. And I guess that'll lead us to talking about tournaments in a second. But I played a fair amount of Egg Priest, which is I am very happy that it worked in the tournament because it does not work on ladder, even in the slightest. And but I mean, I was excited for something new to try, that especially a new priest deck that's not an aggressive priest deck, like a new control priest deck. Like, yeah, sign me up. I'm up for it. But
song, poor unfortunate soul.
Yeah, it's like 10 points worse than control priest, which is already not quite there. I think, yeah, I mean, the one more thing on the patch that I saw repeated a lot, why didn't they say anything about why they didn't buff priest, DK, or warlock? I will say on warlock, Herald Egglock is positive at lower ranks, according to HS Guru. Not by a lot. And I'm not saying that, like, therefore you should be happy if you're a warlock person, just like that might be something that they're looking at. But certainly it would have been nice to hear something from them, even if it was just like, we worry that those could be a frustrating play pattern. I don't know that people would have been happier with that. And again, I don't know if that's where they're coming from, but maybe that's going with a seeming reluctant to get things to a place where they nerf them, especially nerf them hard. I could be where that's coming from. And what I said before about, like, how can we find a good balance between there's decks that are frustrating to play against that people like to complain about, but then also can we, if we have more off-board or like comeback mechanics, that makes the game feel more dynamic. And a lot of people like playing those strategies.
Yeah. I think also, like, if I look back at the patch notes that we saw on the 19th, they say the meta continues to look diverse with no major outliers. So this is a lighter, balanced pass aimed at keeping things stable. And it feels like they're like, yes, we have made plain oatmeal. This is good. Like, well, okay, maybe it's not, maybe people aren't like, writ large, are not like up in arms about a particular deck, but people are losing excitement. And I think when you say it continues to look diverse, I'd be very curious what they're looking for specifically in diversity, because it feels to me like they're saying, well, hey, it's okay if Herald DK and Herald Warlock are like tier 3, tier 4. People are playing them. To which I would say, people are trying to play them because they want to play them, and then they're getting sad, right?
Yeah.
Like, and at what point do they leave?
Yeah.
You know, because you keep making stuff that people are excited to try and make work, and will try to make work for a while because ley lines look cool, because the companions or silver hands or whatever looks cool to someone. And then they get sad and they do one of two things. They go and look up with the top deck and decide, I want to win now, and play one of the more meta decks. Or they go into like just daily quest mode, if that, right? Of like, I'm just going to play as much as I have to. And like, you know, maybe you go to a different mode, right? Maybe you go play arena if you are really tied to the game. You know, I more frequently have been going to arena, or now I'm like trying to make.
Yeah.
But
even that's a problem right now too, apparently.
Sure.
Which is the other thing that they mentioned in the Dev
great.
Insight video, is that now it's dual class arena, and there's a lot of dual herald decks that are.
It's very samey. Yeah,
that become very samey, and also are, you know, kind of pub stomping, for lack of a better term. And there's a fix coming to adjust the herald offering rates, but not yet.
I will say, I mean, if you just look at like number of decks on HS Replay, for example, Legend, since the patch, all regions, we have Token Druid, Herald Shaman, End of Turnedin, Face Hunter, Burn Mage, Dragon Warrior, Silverhand Paladin, aka Dude Paladin, Spell Demon Hunter / No Minion Hunter, Unholy DK, Egg Warrior, Marithra Druid, Herald Warrior, Companion Hunter. That is a lot of names of decks. I think the issue is that they are, with exceptions, mostly similar-ish in play style.
Yes.
Right. And I think that's
and like
where people are frustrated.
The Herald Warrior is deceptive because that is Dragon Warrior, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is Dragon Warrior with some Heralds in, instead of just full-on dragons. It's kind of funny seeing Unholy DK. That's an aggro deck that people don't play a ton of, but I guess it's doing well.
Yeah, 1,400 games, right, as opposed to like, just for comparison's sake, like the top deck is Herald Shaman with 16,000 decks, and like Companion Hunter at this rank has 44,000 games at a 50.5% win rate, which I guess is successful, right? You could call that a success.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Companion Hunter came to be a success. It was hurt by the fact that it needed a buff, and it had
the bugs initially,
serious bug at the beginning. But then people really, like, that became super prevalent because the other ones didn't quite hold up.
Right. Because people wanted to play something new, and it was like the only new thing that felt like it worked. I mean, some of these are higher than I expected, right? Like Burn Mage is higher than I realized.
Silverhand Paladin's at almost 54%, but only 2,100 games since the balance patch.
Well, and you know, we say how much of that deck is the Silverhand stuff, and how much is it hatching ceremony into teamwork. Which, look, hatching ceremony, we thought was never going to see play. So I guess like it just needed a board in a box card for it to kind of work. But like Bubble Paladin, we've had a while.
I mean, I do think End of Turnedin was one of the more successful Cataclysm decks.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I think in terms of like, it has some interest. It's took a second to refine, but then it was fairly successful. And it was a package that sort of worked once we figured out where, like, but wasn't completely obvious to build. Burn Mage, by the way, is even positive at top 1K, although it only has 170 games at top 1K.
Wow.
So someone's playing it. and doing
That's
okay.
That's probably because they think that somebody memeing with Leyline Mage and then they're surprised to have their face burned off is probably what happens. But
I guess,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not even necessarily that like that there isn't like some relatively new stuff, right? The fact that Herald Shaman is doing well, the Bubble Paladin does very well, but you know, isn't that popular play rate wise. The Face Hunter is you know, new in a way, like we said, the Herald Warrior, the Dragon Warrior, but like we've reached a point of it. It feels like we are molding old decks to use a few new things over and over again. So it never feels like we have something. It never ever feels like we truly have something new, you know?
I mean, I think that's what they were trying to go for with having more parasitic lists in the middle. Feeling like if you have a full expansion, like, again, this is my speculation, but this might be what they're thinking of. If you have a full expansion, then you have a large influx of cards, so you have more puzzle pieces to bring things in and work. If you have even a class set that, like the Druid one, which I think was pretty successful, and it gave more tools to Marithra Druid. It gave more tools to Aggro Token Druid. It didn't like make a new archetype, and it was unlikely to. So if we want the middle to have new archetypes, that is where we put parasitic strategies. But we've talked at length about the risks of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and people are clearly wanting to play the Companion Hunter. So that brings something in without having to have the individual cards be like super, super strong. So I could see where parasitic design might make more sense in the class sets. It does just then create the risk of the like really of something like the Leyline Mage happening. And I think the ideal, which is of course easier said than done, would be to have, like much easier said than done, to have the sets in a class set have maybe more obvious synergy, but still be like at least some of them playable on their own. We did get like a couple of cards like that in the Hunter set that mostly haven't seen play, although somebody did use that +2/+2 to a beast and also one in your hand and then play 2 of the Elix at me today. And I was like,
okay.
That was my Companion Hunter mirror that I lost. But the ideal would be you have something like that kind of works on its own, but also works as a set, and then it can make a new archetype in the middle of an expansion and then people play a bunch of the new archetype. That's just hard and risky. And then I think during major expansions, you do want to try to move away from that, but have powerful cards. And I think that people are frustrated because I feel like from the whole last year, we've been afraid of powerful cards. I think that's the bottom line that people are frustrated about.
I mean, I wonder what sales numbers set by set look like. Or like playtime, maybe. I don't know like what metrics they prioritize or look at, but like Stormwind was a deeply love or hate time for Hearthstone, right? Like there are people who loved Stormwind, maybe in the minority. I don't know.
The vocal minority, though.
Yeah, I went up and down, right? There were things I liked about it because they were powerful and exciting. And there were things I didn't like about it because agency, right? But I wonder if like maybe because a lot of people didn't like it. I mean, I know Kibler stopped playing it, right? For a bit during Stormwind.
I mean, that was the whole "Hey, quests suck" meme time.
Right. But so like if that was a period of mass excursion, maybe that ties into this what seems deep-seated fear of making cards powerful, right? Like the fact that they had the Druid mini set or Druid class set ready to go, and it was Treants. And then they were like, oh no, this might make Treant Druid too good. And rather than toning that down after the fact, we will not let it exist. And we will shuffle things around or redesign cards or whatever. Like, that sounds insane to me. You had this product ready to ship. I don't know.
Or maybe 11 classes maybe is too many. Because, like,
Yeah.
we haven't had 11 classes for that long. And, you know, maybe it's too hard to keep all of those balls in the air all at the same time. And, you know, I'm sorry for all you monk wanters that are hoping for a 12th class despite them saying that we're not getting one, but maybe it's just too many classes, because like it's not like in Magic, that's not like they're you know, managing all these different color combinations and, you know, individually, and they're hard locked like that, right? Where it's not like you can really, other than printing neutrals, you don't really have any ways to like have those cards skip containment aside from Rogue, right? So like you're printing those cards and you have to keep all those classes in check and not let one get too far ahead of the others, and maybe 11 is just too many for that.
Anyway, yeah, that went way longer than intended.
Well, I mean, that was basically what we're going to end up talking about in Dexplanations anyway, so we just kind of...
This is our combined news explanations. Yeah.
This is Explanations, but we do have some playoffs to talk about.
Yeah. So so let's talk about what you can do when you're not playing 1v1 ladder.
It's the grand tournament!
So playoffs happen. Pretty cool. It was not super different from Winter Championship, but it was different enough, right? It, you know, kept things interesting. It was cool to see the different players. Brazil still had 5 people in this playoffs. Kind of wild. That I think the big thing is that Aggro Druid kind of took the stage in a way that it was not really present last tournament. That one was mostly like Marithra, and there was much less Rogue in this one, and it performed worse as well, which is interesting. So Dragon Warrior still prevalent, still did quite well. Egg Priest, despite baiting Wicked, Egg Priest, an Egg Warrior, because of the whole you get a ban thing, did quite well. It was kind of remarkable. I think there was no expectation that it do that well, and yet it did. So yeah, and I messed around with it a little bit to be like, I shouldn't know what I'm talking about when I cast this deck, and you know, worked all right for me. Apparently that was not the case a couple days later or the next day. But it very much is the kind of thing where it benefits from like having a ban.
Yeah,
right.
Like you can't play it into Rogue. Like they play the 9 mana dragon and you just die, right? Because then it just undoes everything and you've got a bunch of 10 drops.
Well, if you've played Umbra, you can set up things where because of the interaction of you've got a full hand and they try to bounce to the eggs break, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
So that's better than you would think. But certainly there were not a ton of rogues in this event. There's a lot more quest mage than I expected, to be honest. In terms of players, though, we had over in APAC, Banshee's Dog, Curfew, Maxibon. There's a few names that are in the characters that I don't know. Yeah, I would say rather than going through player by player, there were, you know, as we've seen with playoffs, as is nice, players with names that we recognize, players that we haven't seen a ton, right? It's really cool getting the kind of like fresh faces. Yeah, that continues to be a positive addition, I would say.
I do want to shout out Monkey Flip.
Yes.
Who
had the Egg Priest.
Had an Egg Priest. He also had like a Jara in his Marithra Druid. That didn't work out nearly as well for him in the one series that I watched, but he did win that series. This was a quarterfinal versus Watkins, which if you're looking for a match out of it to watch, I totally recommend. It starts at like the 7-hour markish and ends in kind of a crazy manner. and it features an egg priest. And just in general, his deck building was pretty unique, and it's fun to see that being rewarded in a tournament meta, which of course is a little bit different than your typical meta. And Watkins also played that well. Watkins was like extremely stoic, even when Monkey Flip got like absurdly lucky near the end. That is, by the way, Life Bloom, good card. QED, done. End of that quarterfinal is just, yep.
I have come around on Life Bloom. I appreciate it. I may not be a Life Bloom enjoyer, but I'm a Life Bloom appreciator. So yeah.
Yeah, it had some high highs in the event, but ultimately, in terms of those who advanced from APAC, we got Banshee's Dog, Curfew, Maxibon, and a name that I only have the characters for. Sorry, Disdemon, Fatty, Yarla, and Monkey Flip in EU, and then from Americas, Aircon, Digo, Grimaldi, and Ryan. So although there were 5 Brazilians in the event, only 2 of them made it through alongside a Canadian and someone from the US. So, yeah, cool event. Still, lots of no minion DH, lots of no hand hunter, but there was a little, someone brought companion hunter. I think even some of the face lists, maybe I'm misremembering this. I feel like someone's no hand hunter might have had no, maybe not. It's definitely been messed around with the having the 1-cost spell still,
just as like a draw spell.
Yeah, and like sometimes you discover an animal companion thing from Illyria or whatever.
Yeah.
At any rate.
Yeah.
I guess it just gives you more draw in your Confront the Tol'Vir, if nothing else.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's its main reason to potentially be in there. It was also fun to have Bunny Hopper
Yes.
as a caster.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean also, like, especially in Europe, like seeing some names that are like Disdemon's been doing this forever.
Oh yeah.
And seeing Yarla back in playoffs as is also really, I mean, it's always good when Yarla's, doing well. And I don't think that he didn't really do much in the like ladder grinding era, right? Like that wasn't the kind of thing that he was able to do to this extent. So having a forum for players of his caliber to continue to be able to play at the highest level. And I mean, he was in Grandmasters almost the entire time, if not the entire time, right? If I remember correctly.
I don't recall.
Yeah. He was in Grandmasters for a lot of it. And I don't think we saw a lot of him in the couple of years where it was just grind ladder forever. So I do like being able to see players of that caliber. And again, like someone like Disdemon, who's been doing this. So what 2016 was the first time that I think I remember Lorinda saying on the broadcast. This sounds like a thing that Lorinda would know off the top of their head.
He was in Rio with me. Disdemon was.
Yeah.
Which was 2018. So
right.
At least that far back. I may have said some things that were incorrect because memory is soupy but I thought Jake was also at Rio, not like competing, just like he was there because it's Brazil.
Jake's been around a long time too.
I recall there being a young kid who was there hanging out with the other Brazilian players and stuff.
I mean, Jake is a name that I remember from when I was casting Bemi's tournaments like years and years ago, because a lot of them were also from South America, and I remember Jake being one of them. So
yeah.
No, it's fun to see these players back. I mean, I remember Yarlo from when I was watching tournaments back when I didn't know anything about the community, but just tuned in for tournaments sometimes. I remember that he would sometimes make me a little anxious because he would go all the way to the end of the rope and then play something. And I was like, no, just play something. Oh my gosh, you're going to run out of time. And once in a blue moon he does, but very rarely. And a very, very good player. And then he was the first like esports person that I ever ran into on ladder. And so that was very memorable.
Life Coach would have driven you up a wall.
Indeed.
Life Coach, for those of you who weren't watching back then, Life Coach was one of the early pro players, and he was the original like rope every turn, including turn one. Like I remember seeing an interview with him where he said like, I rope on turn one because I'm using that time to figure out my next couple of turns, and if I have the time available, I'm going to use it. But he was notorious for letting it go all the way to the rope every single turn, no matter what.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. No,
Yep.
that's a little different. Yeah. And also to point out for anyone who does not know Bunny Hopper, he was the world champion in what, 2023, 24, 23, 22.
I
Anyway.
forget. It's been a minute at this point. He's had 2 children, so
yeah, maybe it was 22. It was
Grandmasters that he did it. So we had last year was the first year of the current system, right? So we had 2 years before that were the ladder grinding tournaments, and he didn't win those. So it had to be at the earliest 22.
Right. And so I remember it was while Hat was still on the podcast, and I was a patron, and I did a coaching with you where we played the deck that he had played, which was the Svalna Priest. Because I remember the game that won him the tournament was like an hour and a half Svalna Priest mirror.
Oh, God, those were the days.
I'm not even joking. And I was watching this while out of my mind from COVID. And it was like perfect for that. But I can't remember what year I got COVID for the first time.
I mean, it had to be either 21 or 22 because I joined the podcast in 21. So yeah, it was either 21 or 22. And then you were like, oh, you have COVID. We can reschedule the coaching. And I was like, no. I've been waiting for this. It doesn't. We're playing Control. It doesn't matter if I'm too sick to be coherent. It's not going to make a difference.
Well, and Steve will rescue us from losing, so it's fine. Steve will just carry. But I actually did learn things. I will say that I carried forward.
You learn to not play Hearthstone while you have COVID, because then you'll do things like want to play Control, and that's when you know you're sick.
Yeah. No, I think my play has not been at its peak. I've not been sick, but I've just been like not at my peak. And my Hearthstone play is kind of my canary in the coal mine for like, hey, you should like get more sleep or do less work or just have self-care or something, because that's like the first thing to dip in a way that's very obvious. There's other stuff that's also dipping, but the starting to lose for longer periods of time, it's like, oh, okay, the brain is preoccupied.
I'm trying to think if there's any. This is the esports section.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that about covers it. Definitely worth a watch, right? Even as much as I have been negative on the way it feels like things are being run right now in terms of design and balance decisions, I feel very, very positively about esports. And esports is just such a different beast because of having a ban, right? It's almost a different game. Tournament mode, for the love of God.
I mean, if we can even just get like, I'm not even going to go so far to say tournament mode, but if you could just get like best of 3 with a ban in the client, I think it would be different enough that it would at least give someplace else to go, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, you have that in Magic Arena where you have best of 1 and best of 3. They're not going to be as different as they are here, but if you do have, especially just for people who are like, I'm sick of that deck, okay, ban it. You never have to play it against it again, as long as you're doing best of 3. I mean, there's probably going to be more than one deck that you hate, and you have to play against one of them. But you know, but it also does change like the kinds of decks that you can play when you only have to get a deck 1 win out of 3. It does change the dynamics and make it so that something like an Egg Priest is dead on arrival on ladder, but a viable tournament deck because you only need to get it past one deck that you think you'll have a favored matchup against. And then you get into a lot of these like tier 3 decks that maybe you wouldn't ever play otherwise, but they become part of a lineup strategy that makes sense. And
Yeah.
if you can do that in a ladder type environment within the client, I mean, even just to facilitate esports would be a win. But certainly, like it would, I think it would be enough of a different environment. And this has been a drum I've been beating for months now, that since we lost Duel, since we lost Twist, we don't have enough places to take the cards that you bought, right? But this would be, I think that meta is different enough that it would effectively feel like a different ranked ladder without really having to change too much.
Yeah, I think that would actually be really helpful and really popular. And it wouldn't be for everyone, and that's fine, right?
Yeah.
It could have regular ladder. But I think that having a reason to play more different decks and a way to, I'm just super mad at Protoss Mage, I will never see it again. Yeah, that would be something that could be a win. It would definitely require upfront dev time to make it happen, for sure. But then it wouldn't require ongoing balance in the same way, because it is still the same decks.
It wouldn't require a whole separate balance team to manage it. Like that was a legitimate problem with Duels and a legitimate problem with Twist, is that you needed another team to balance those, and then balance changes you would make in other modes would affect that, right? And that would sometimes end up breaking things unexpectedly. This wouldn't. I mean, it's the same decks. It's just a different way to play them. Maybe that would work. Again, this can't be anything they haven't thought about. And I know the tournament mode was, I mean, it's a meme for a reason, right? But I don't think you need to have like a whole tournament in there. You just need to have like a best of 3 with a ban, and let people play the same way that the competitions are held. You know?
No.
Anyhow, I'll get off my soapbox.
I certainly recommend watching this. It's also, again, as I always say, seeing games with casters, seeing both sides of a game, right? It's a very different experience. It's very educational. It's entertaining. Most people are not necessarily going to watch the full 12 hours, but you can really drop in anywhere. And if you are like, what's one series that I can watch? 7-hour mark. Monkey Flip versus Watkins. That's the main one I caught, and it was worth it. If you want to see like Edel and Bunny Hopper near the end, we got to have them casting together. That was great. Scroll through. If you don't like the game you're in, just scroll. And you'll find one. I will put you can find it on, probably still on Twitch or on YouTube. I'll put the link into the show notes.
Yeah. YouTube will probably be better because that's probably going to stick around longer. I don't know how long the broadcasts stick around on Twitch.
Well, that's going to do it for today's show. So, sorry, that was a little bit more of a downer and for perhaps longer than we intended, but it's just kind of how I'm feeling right now. Hopefully, I mean, I feel like in a couple of weeks, we must be getting at least teasers of new expansion. Don't know what we're going to do next.
So,
but
I mean, usually it's a month after the mini set comes out, right? And the mini set came out at least 2 weeks ago because they did the balance patch. So we should be due pretty soon.
Yeah. So we have many folks we'd like to thank. Check out the thanks section on the website at Concede.com, where you also find our contact info, show notes, and our Patreon information. You can monetarily support our show at patreon.com/Concede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.coincede.com. Join our community chats in Discord at discord.coincede.com. Write into our email at coincede@gmail.com. Follow us on Blue Sky at Coincede. Subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/coincede. And if you would like some CC swag, head on over to our shop at the link in the show notes. It's a fourth wall shop. Concedes. I'm going to concede to Brandon Sanderson because I finished book 3 of the Mistborn trilogy. I know it's a saga and like there's more after that, but it's really good. I mean, I know that's not really news, but it's really good. I enjoyed it considerably. So if you haven't read those, check it out.
I'm going to concede to the Destiny 2 community because they just got news that game is getting its last content update soon and then going into maintenance mode. And I have a number of friends who have been very big into that game for a long time. And that is and they say that they're going to work on the next thing, but also it sounds like they don't know what that next thing is yet. So, you know, and just fingers crossed for all the devs that are working over at Bungie that doesn't turn into layoffs while they figure that out. So, but certainly I know that's going to be a hard time for a lot of the folks who are, you know, I mean, we've done a podcast for a long time. We continue to do a podcast about a live service game. That's another live service game. And when a live service game ends, that's a tough time in that community. So, you know, heart's going out to all of them.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I will coin concede to the union rep for our campus of my school that I work at. We had a meeting at lunch today about everything that's going on, and he's been putting in a lot of work. Generally like the admin at my school, but there are certain sort of structural things that are difficult on the teacher side. So I was trying to figure out how I could be helpful in a way that would still be work for me, I suppose. And I appreciate just like how much work he's put into it, as well as the other reps from the other campuses. Yeah, I know that's very vague, but figure it's better to be vague.
Yeah, probably good for you to be vague in that context. But anyway, that is going to do it for us for this. Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I forgot. I have one more.
Okay.
Because I usually don't remember things, and I did at the end. Coin Concede to Slightly Reckless Games, who are I've got a game, Night Shift Devil Division, on backer kit right now. There's 14 days left. They have just smashed their goals, right? They wanted to raise 30,000 pounds. They're at 155,000 pounds. So not saying this because they need it. I'm saying it because it looks awesome. So if you like TTRPGs and you like Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, Chainsaw Man, this is that. It is those things together.
Okay. Well, now that's it for this week. So until next time, keep calm and eat your vegetables. And if you see us on ladder, coin concede.
Coin Concede.
Coin concede.
All life must end. I yield for now. I concede. Well fought. I concede.
You win this one.
The victory is yours.
You have bested me.
I give up.
You win this one, friend. You win this time. I choose death.